Andrea Young.
Andrea Young.
Andrea Young.
Georgia right now is locked in its own modern-day crackdown on the right to vote. Joining us now to talk about it is Andrea Young. She's executive director of the ACLU of Georgia. She was also, I have to tell you, at one of those famous walks across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with John Lewis and with Martin Luther King Jr. She was 10 years old at the time. She was there with her dad, civil rights leader Andrew Young.
The march from Selma to Montgomery, Andrea got to walk across the bridge with us. And she has continued marching across bridges and breaking down barriers and caring for the least of these, God's children.
Andrea Young was born in Thomasville, Georgia, during the era of lawful racial segregation. Her career as a champion of civil and human rights began in elementary school, when, along with her late sister Lisa, she integrated a previously all-white private school, a first in Georgia. Her life has been a quest for a more perfect union. Following graduation from Georgetown University School of Law, she joined the Team Defense Project to fight the death penalty. Frustrated by the policy failures that preceded her clients' bad acts, she shifted from litigation to public policy, going to Washington, D.C. to work for Senator Edward Ted Kennedy, Democrat of Massachusetts. As a legislative aide, Young served as a key staffer fighting the filibuster that sought to derail the passage of the legislation that established the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
I know my mom visited all 100 senators to lobby for the bill, and many congresspersons. And I'm sure that she and Andrea interacted many times because, Mom was close to Ted Kennedy. And since she was working for Ted Kennedy, she had an awesome responsibility. But I will say again that Andrea played a critical role in ensuring that, the holiday would get passed.
She also accompanied Senator Ted Kennedy to South Africa during apartheid and played a key role in legislation establishing economic sanctions against the apartheid regime, which she championed. Her work to end apartheid led her to the United Church of Christ Board for World Ministries and Office for Church in Society, where she continued her work on South Africa, lobbied for peace, and advocated for sustainable international development, justice, peace, and the integrity of creation.
Andrea, she came from a very prominent civil rights family, both her mom and her dad. And then she's a lawyer and she has a lot of choices, but she chose to work for a nonprofit organization that advocates for Black children and their families.
Young answered the call to serve as the first chief of staff to the first woman elected to a full term in the U.S. Congress from the state of Georgia. As chief of staff for a newly created congressional district, she developed staff and legislative priorities. She also established district offices and constituent services practices. She served as vice president and interim president at Planned Parenthood of Metropolitan Washington, overseeing the development of a new clinic and preventing anti-choice legislation in Virginia.
We have worked together on everything I've done, and that's been since she was 10 years old.
She was the first executive director of the Andrew Young Foundation and executive producer of the Andrew Young Presents series of 24 documentaries for television. Young also authored or contributed to several books, including Life Lessons My Mother Taught Me, An Easy Burden, and Andrew Young's Making of Modern Atlanta.
There is certainly a molding and a character building that Andrea's mother, about whom she wrote a book, and her dad played a key role. But Andrea, it's clear she is and was going to be extraordinary in her own terms, which of course she has proven.
I think she's most proud of the work she's done in the South and with the American Civil Liberties Union. One reason is that when I ran for Congress, I was redistricted. I live in Southwest Atlanta, and they redrew the lines on the 5th Congressional District and put the neighborhood that I live in the same congressional district as Noonan, Georgia.
Ms. Young, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm Andrea Young, Executive Director of the ACLU of Georgia, born in Thomasville, Georgia, and raised in Atlanta. So I'm a daughter of this state. At the ACLU of Georgia, we stand for the right of every American citizen living in Georgia to have easy and equal access to the ballot. District maps must be drawn fairly. I've seen unfair maps play out in front of me when my dad, Andrew Young, was drawn out of the 5th Congressional District right here in Atlanta following the 1970 census.
There aren't words to describe how amazing Andrea has been for the affiliate. You know, I had the fortunate position where I served on the committee to hire Andrea, and I remember her coming in, and we all had the same thought: she's the one.
Andrea talks about not just fighting for the next generation and passing the baton. She also talks about winning the war. So literally enshrining our voting rights in the Georgia Constitution, enshrining reproductive justice in the Georgia Constitution, our First Amendment rights, criminal legal reform, everything. So the table that she set from coming from a 3-person affiliate now to over 20 staff members and the impact that's happened statewide, she has built the foundation for us to grow and fly.
Under Andrea Young's impactful leadership at the ACLU of Georgia, her crowning achievement may have been the 2020 expansion of access to the ballot and blocking the unlawful removal of nearly 160,000 Georgia voters from the rolls. This mitigated the suppression of Black voters, likely the critical difference for important civil liberties candidates Biden, Warnock, and Ossoff.
Andrea, congratulations.
And thank you for being a Renaissance woman.
Thank you for all of the days that you encouraged me.
And the contributions that you continue to make to our nation and world.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for all that you have done for civil rights and justice in Georgia and across the country.
It's going to be different with you not being here, but your presence will always be felt.
It has been one of the great honors of my life to be affiliated with the ACLU of Georgia during the time that you were here.
I wish you the very best.
I wish you a wonderful and very happy and successful retirement.
With deep affection, with enormous appreciation, and with continued support for the ACLU of Georgia, we will all keep on keeping on in your name, Andrea Young. Thank you.